Today we're going to talk a little bit about art and a little bit about math all at the same time. That might sound funny to some of you since art is usually an activity where you don't think about math, but we can actually use art as a really fun way to look at lots of math ideas. Today's artwork is a painting from 1982. It is called Untitled and is by an artist named Ron Martin. We'll start our work today just like I start every tour in the gallery, which is by looking carefully. Take some time to look at the whole painting. This is a fun activity for the whole family to do together, so if you can, try it as a group. What do you see? What questions do you have? Pause the video for a moment and talk about all of the things you notice together. Maybe make a list or take turns sharing things that you notice. Now that you've had a moment, let's talk about what you saw in the painting. Did you talk about shapes? Which ones? Did you name some colors? I'm going to share some of the things that I notice when I look at this painting, though it's important to remember that everyone sees things differently, so you may have noticed something that I haven't mentioned. Good for you. That just means you're looking closely. First, I see a painting with lots of rectangles in many different colors and lots in a kind of grayish brown. I see lots of squares too, and each one is outlined with a thin white line. Each square is made up of one brown rectangle and one color. The white lines we see running straight up and down and side to side, and all of the squares and rectangles are exactly the same size. We can call this a grid. What you can't see in this virtual experience is that this painting is huge. It is 244 by 366 centimeters wide, which means when you look at it in the gallery, the top of the painting would be way over your head. There are 12 squares, or 24 rectangles in each row looking side to side, and there are 8 squares or rectangles in each column, which means the line from top to bottom. Did you notice that the artist has used patterns in this painting? A pattern is something that uses 2 or more pieces and repeats them again and again. In class you may have talked about AB patterns, ABC patterns, or even more complex patterns like ABBA. Patterns can be any combination you want as long as they repeat. In this painting, there are at least 3 different patterns that we can find. Take a look and see how many you can get. First, the easy one. We see an AB pattern moving through the rows. A is the brown rectangle, B is the color, and then we repeat. Brown, color, and so on. Even though each of the colors is different, it is still a repeating pattern. Second, we look at the columns and see that each column repeats the same kind of pattern. One column is brown, one column has all kinds of colors, and then one is brown again. This is another AB pattern. The third pattern is a tricky one. When you first looked at the painting, did you think all of the colors were mixed up in a random order, or did you think of it like a rainbow? Both of these are pretty good guesses, but if you look really closely, you'll see that neither one is quite true. The third pattern is one that repeats only 3 times in the whole painting. It takes 32 colors before it repeats. To find it, look at the pale yellowish rectangle in the top left corner. Then look for the next time you see the same color, and then that color one more time. Then notice the colors that are beside it, and you'll start to see the pattern. All of this may seem like a different way to talk about math, which it is, but it is also a really interesting part of how we understand this kind of painting. Ron Martin is an abstract painter. If abstract is a new word for you, it simply means that it is art that is more about colors and lines and shapes, and less about something from the real world. Abstract artists are interested in using those building blocks of art to make a painting or sculpture that is interesting to look at and think about, without bothering to try and show us something that we recognize. Ron Martin, the artist who made this painting, is an artist like that. He's really interested in color and how we think about it. He used the grid and the pattern that we've just talked about to explore the ways that different colors look when they are placed together. This is part of the reason he made this painting so big, so that you feel like you are surrounded by the color. He has a detailed plan for his work before he even starts to paint, and so in this case we can say that math is a really important part of his artwork. Now that you've learned about Ron Martin's painting, there are some activity sheets that will let you explore more about math ideas with an important artwork. Thanks for joining us, and tune in again next week when we talk about art and math with a new painting. Thank you.